Imperatives for Businesses. And this is, as you know, is the first in the series of knowledge sessions that we are organizing for our incoming batch of IMT Hyderabad students. By way of introduction, my name is Prakash Pathak, and I head the corporate relations and placements at IMT Hyderabad. I extend a very warm welcome to the panelists of the day, Ms. Jyotsna, Mr. Viren Mehta, Mr. Anand Srivastava, Mr. Sairam Vedam. So, the moderator of the session, I also welcome Dr. Shiva, who is the chairperson marketing area at IMT Hyderabad, and he will be introducing the panelists in details to all the participants. I also welcome all the faculty members of IMT Hyderabad who have joined today for this discussion. I welcome the admissions team headed by Professor Saurabh Bhattacharya, and I welcome the corporate relations team in this discussion today. Last but not the least, I welcome all the participants, which, as I mentioned, is our students of the incoming batch, the batch of 2020-22. And I'm sure it would be a very exciting and enriching session for all of you, considering the topic. All of you know the topic today. It is digital imperatives for businesses. And what better reason to understand the relevance of the topic than to find out that we are conducting this discussion on a digital platform today with all of you, all the participants, all the panelists, the moderators, me, the corporate relations team, the placements team, everyone being in different locations and different cities and taking this this discussion respectively from their cities. We were having an informal discussion with the panelists before the panel discussion a few days ago, and one of the panelists rightly said that in the post-COVID world, digital is no longer an option but a necessity. So I'm sure because of this reason, there will be a lot of takeaways for the participants of the today's discussion. And of course, one important takeaway that all of you can have is you can ask the panelists what career options you can pursue in this digital era and in this world of digitization. With that, I welcome you all once again, and I hand it over to Dr. Shiva, the moderator of this session, to take it ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Prakash. Good evening and welcome all. It's an interesting topic, in fact. Before introducing the panelist, let me share a few of my thoughts in this regard. We all know that digital is like gravity. Whether you like it or not, you have to live with it, right? Gravity is very much necessary today. It's everywhere in our life, from buying groceries, if you want to rent a cab, or if you want to watch a movie, or even if you want to file your tax returns. It is everywhere. Thanks to the internet penetration, of the 7.8 billion population, almost about 40% have connectivity today. And in another 10 years of time, 90% of the population is expected to have the connectivity. Again, thanks to the efforts of Elon Musk, the SpaceX program, and Alphabet's Loon project, and O3B, which is got recently funding from Richard Branson and Coca-Cola and Qualcomm. So companies are trying to increase the connectivity throughout the globe. So with the internet connectivity is increasing day by day, this gives a big arena for the business players to play. Bold digital entrants disrupt the existing businesses like ever before. Music, travel, and retail are already disrupted. Manufacturing and agriculture are on the path of getting disrupted. One may wonder how agriculture will get affected by the digital disruption. Today, almost at all places, you can monitor what's going on through cameras. So in agricultural field, through cameras, what's going on, what is happening in the environment, is there an insect, whether the watering is sufficiently done. Everything is monitored 24/7, and immediately the message is sent to the call center or the control center through which the agriculture is happening. This is how a lot of change is happening. The digital is changing the way the businesses are done. In fact, banking is also not an exemption. With the digital currencies, the relevance of role of central banks becomes questionable. You all know about Bitcoin, right? So currencies, even even China has recently coming out with a digital currency, the RMB it is called. So with the changes that is happening at a fast pace, businesses has to take up the digital transformation seriously. Otherwise, they'll get disrupted. They have to transform themselves before the disruption happens. So put it in a simple word, before getting Ubered, you go for the digital transformation. So with this brief introduction about the topic, let me introduce the panelists of the day. Today we have 4 panelists to discuss on the topic, digital imperatives of the business. So first, let me introduce Mr. Sairam Vedam, Chief Marketing Officer of InnoMinds. He is a veteran marketing guy, having received most influential marketing technology leader 2015 and 16, BBC Knowledge Series and CMO Asia's greatest marketing influencer 2017, Paul Reiter and Oracle CS100 top 100 marketing leaders in India, 100 best marketing minds of India award from Enterprise IT magazine. These are the accolades that Sairam Vedam has received. With this brief introduction, I welcome Sairam Vedam to the session. Next, I would like to introduce Josna. She is a Senior Director, Strategy and Consulting at CTS. Jo has helped various organizations in setting up digital transformation office. Jo digital transformation office for a leading health information provider in US to accelerate and adopt digitization by their customers. She has led the healthcare tech platform that connects wearable and the various data sources to arrive at patient health index and preventive care. She was a keynote speaker at several CXO conferences on digital transformation office. With this introduction, I welcome Josna to the session. Next, I would like to introduce Viren Mehta, Senior Director and Head Transactions of JLL. He is well experienced in extending advisory services in land acquisition, commercial properties, and wealth management. His experience include formulation of business plan, entry strategies, and location advisory for Fortune 500 companies. He heads P&L and responsible to generate revenue through transactions across all verticals. We also have Mr. Anand Srivastava, General Manager Marketing at Landis Plus Gate. He's having around 28 years of experience in sales and marketing, business development, and project management with power utilities. Among the first few in India to bring and popularize advanced metering infrastructure, popularly known as smart meters in India since 2012. Anand is an important member of AMI consultative committees on Central Electricity Authority, Ministry of Power, and various standard committees on Bureau of Indian Standards, also with committees on cybersecurity and communications for the smart grid and smart city. So welcome Mr. Anand and Mr. Viren Mehta. So first I would like to request Mr. Sairam to share his thoughts on the topic. Over to you, Mr. Sairam.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, I think in the age of pandemic, instead of saying hi, I thought I'll say namaste. Right? Namaste to all of you. And, it's always a great opportunity to interact with an educational ecosystem. And no better way than to have listening to senior professors like you, sir. Thank you very much. And then, of course, energetic young minds out there. We are all here to learn from each of you. Today has been a hectic day for me, but an eventful day. I'm going to start about what I did today in the morning. I was mentoring an online startup contest that Bits Pilani had hosted on their platform. The reason I'm talking about that's is about, it was all about digital. Okay, I met about 6 startups founded by age groups from 21 to 47 years. I'm talking about the founder age profile, and the type of startups range from a digital assistant of personal financial decision making, and to a retrofitted device that can predict fuel usage fuel usage patterns to save fuel consumption. It also had an advanced email security solution that can add as a browser plugin, and so on and so forth. Then the second half of the day's first hour that I did was a session for another educational institution on artificial intelligence in business and digital transformation in business landscape, or something that I did yesterday. So the reason I'm talking about all of these three is there is a World Economic Forum statistic that rightfully says that everyone in this digital age needs 101 extra days of learning in a given calendar year to be relevant in the age of digital, right? So today, I think I have done a bit of the 101 days that I need to clock in my calendar. So I am urging all of you to be thankful to your educational institution, Institute of Management and Technology, for collectively making us all learn in this digital platform. That's the first important thing. The ability to learn is going to be defining and redefining. That's the fundamental imperative of digital landscape, period. There is nothing beyond that stuff. The second imperative is about the flexibility to change. So I was listening to Chief Product Officer of Salesforce.com on a NASCOM hosted webinar day before yesterday. And what he was telling is the resilience index of businesses is defined by the ability to navigate the change from cultural invasion of digital, which means that right from boardrooms to students, everyone has an equal opportunity to teach each other. There's no more hierarchy. The hierarchy is broken, right? So that's another imperative in digital. There is no one superior and there is no one inferior. The third imperative, which we will go deeper, is also to understand what is not digital. Any skill that is bestowed by law of nature, by God to human being, is never going to be replaced by digital, right? A fine piece of art that you can draw today can never be digital, but it can be digitized. So as humans, it's highly important for us to understand the cognitive skill sets that we are bestowed with, the ability to write, the ability to speak, the ability to comprehend, and the ability to infer based on a large set of data or a small set of data. Facebook is not able to recognize your photo if you're done with the selfie with the mask. It's not able to tag, period. So digital is still a technology medium, but humans have to understand that it's a massively transformative medium to reach millions and billions of people at single point of time, which means that transformatively different applications can be thought through, right? Lastly, we are definitely living in the age of pandemic. I think just like we all learned in our history, AC and AC and BC, it's going to be different now. The definitions are different, but this imperative is going to be very, very different as we unfold. So let us use this occasion today to understand that learning quotient, what I call horizontal employability quotient, which means that you got to be cross-functional while you also have a certain set of specific competencies that you need to bring in. The T model is going to be of highly relevance in the age of digital. I'll end by just recounting this. 133 million new jobs in 2022 by World Economic Forum are available, and the jobs transcend very, very interesting roles that can be as wide as a data analyst to a digital transformation specialist. But what goes without saying in that landscape is anyone with an empathy, with an emotion to understand how humans behave in different areas of business are going to be the most sought after in digital, which means you got to focus on foundational skills of writing, reading, comprehending, and speaking, because we are inherently human. let me stop here. We will jump into imperatives of business as we move to the topic. But I just thought, as an academic ecosystem, I wanted to emphasize that let's do something basic, which are fundamentally very, very important. Don't stop speaking. Don't stop writing.
Thank you, Saram. I would like to call Josna ma'am to share her thoughts on this. Over to you, Ms. Josna. Ms. Josna, you are there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. So, hey everyone, thanks for taking time to give and also giving us an opportunity to interact with all of you. I have been speaking to some of you guys on the chat. Pretty good conversations, especially on the digital currency, the blockchains part of it that we are talking about, the Facebook interactions and all of that. But what I thought today, is we will talk about a couple of my experiences, especially what is happening in the COVID-19 situation. And I also thought I'll walk you through one of the recent studies that we have done, right, on anthropology, especially somebody was talking about Reliance Jio. I also wanted to take a minute and explain about how Jio, in my opinion, has been changing the entire gamut of things, right, in terms of the digital transformation in India itself. So let's talk about the COVID-19 initially. So there was this particular lull, right, in the last 2 months where we started seeing not much of a response. People are going quiet. People are not even understanding what is this lockdown, a certain fear that is coming in. But this has all changed again, right, now with the opening of the lockdowns, not just in India, but worldwide. We are seeing that there's a lot more opportunities that are coming up all of our way. We talk about digital transformation, but putting it very simply, we are seeing that there's a lot of people who are asking, businesses who are asking for touchless experiences, digital onboarding, online ordering, and also delivering all of this at home, right? No need to actually get into any of the queues and everything. All of these are some of the things that we are seeing. Take the example of healthcare, right, which is something that has changed quite tremendously. If you actually ask me, what's happening in healthcare? We are talking about preventive care. People want to actually know what would actually happen. What are the symptoms? Is there any index that you can give it to them? Telemedicine. Today, my homeopathy doctor actually calls me and he says that there's no need for you to come here because I'm starting a video consultation. You can actually show me what is your problem and I would actually ensure that the medicines are getting delivered at home. This is a mom and pop shop we are talking about. We are not really talking about MNCs over here, right? And one of the other industries that I think is going to get affected very, very drastically would be the government operations. Till date, it has always been a lot of bureaucracy with a lot of in-person interactions and everything, right? But I think the standard operating procedures, especially with all of this work from home being drafted, you'll start seeing a lot of digital operations, processes, everything that you'll be able to do right from your home from your desktop rather than anything else. And one of the other trends, in my opinion, that you would be looking at is the reverse urbanization itself. Today, there's a lot of need for the villagers to actually come to the cities and settle down. But now, and that has also increased the real estate prices and everything. But now you will start seeing the reverse urbanization itself. You'll start seeing that people are moving to the rural areas and they're also going to start thinking about a lot of savings. Again, I said I will talk about one of the experiences, right? So way back in 2015, when Prime Minister Narendra Modi was talking about Made in India, Digital India campaign, I was kind of very excited, but then, I was not very sure how is he going to achieve this, because India is a lot more villages, towns, just the density of the population and the illiteracy that we are talking about. I was not really sure as to how are we going to actually achieve this. In September 2019, which was last year, about 8 to 10 months back, I had an opportunity of going along with an NGO on an anthropology study. What we had done is we went to Chhattisgarh, and in Chhattisgarh, we went to Bilaspur. Within Bilaspur, again, there is a forest area where we actually went and spent some time with some of the villages. And so all of these children get studied at Anganwadis, right, which is the rural child care center that we are essentially talking about. And this is where we wanted to see whether all of the government initiatives like the Swachh Bharat that you are talking about and all of that, are the funds from these government missions actually coming and it is actually getting to the last mile. So in that particular case, we went and did this anthropology study. What happened is we went to this Anganwadi, right? And surprisingly, all the kids were like neatly dressed. They greeted us in English also, saying hello and all of that. And all the kids were very, very confident. And the younger lords also didn't want to be left behind, right? In fact, every one of them were kind of engaging us in a conversation. In my own, probably the arrogant way, right? I just wanted to see whether these guys know what a mobile phone is, first of all. So I had this particular iPhone on my hand, and then I asked them, do you know what this particular phone is? And one of the smart guys, who is probably 5th or 6th class, is studying, right? He said, can you please remove the cover? And I removed the cover, and then it took him approximately 2 seconds to say that that phone that I'm holding is an iPhone 10. While I know that I'm holding an iPhone, I can probably never for the life of mine differentiate between what is an iPhone 8 or an iPhone 10. You understand what I'm saying, right? It is just an utility for me, but these kids are all aware of it. And then we started digging a bit more into it to understand how is it that they're able to understand so much about not really the digital and everything, but so advanced. What we have seen is that the Oppo phones have actually penetrated a lot into India. And then we are also seeing that the Reliance Jio with their 4G network and everything has conquered it. Every particular individual in that particular villages, irrespective of their literacy level, are used to WhatsApp calling, accessing all of those videos on YouTube, and also accessing Facebook. And the kids, as I was telling you, right, the younger kids, they didn't want to be left behind. They were talking about Chota Bheem, Modu Patlu, and a lot of such kind of a shows in YouTube, right? And then there is also the tendency for people to adapt to technology. What do I mean by that? The women over there want to actually search for a recipe, let's say a mutton, makhani, paneer, whatever it is. So the easiest way they do is they go to Google and they say, hey, Google, and then they actually go ahead and say paneer, matar, makhani recipe. And immediately that reads it out. And these guys are cooking all of that at home. Now, how uncomplicating is it you're talking about? One other thing is you are talking about males over there, right? So what happens is they have this huge farmlands that you're talking about where they go and they have to harvest it and everything. And they typically recruit the local talent over there. Now, one of the other things that are happening is because of the vast area that they have to monitor, they have to rely on this guy coming and saying, I did 8 hours of work. Now, what has changed over here is these guys are now using WhatsApp video calling. They're calling these particular people and then trying to understand what is actually happening over there. Is he seeing whether this guy is in the farm or not? And paying by the hour, which he thinks is he is there in the farm actually. So their productivity is kind of increasing. So the reason I'm trying to actually talk about all of this is digital is all around us. Everywhere it is. Today, if you look some of the stats, because of the lockdown in the last 2 months, probably the digital literacy of the older generation, which is 60 and above, has actually increased by about 11%. We are essentially talking about digital innovations that are coming up in banking, right? So today you have your Amazon Pays, you have your Paytms, you have your Google Pays and all of that, which has made life easy. More importantly, it has also ensured the business is as usual, even after the demonetization. We are also talking about where AI is being used in drug discovery, right? In life sciences, if you actually look at it. They're also using social profiling to understand the patient identification. In terms of retail, this is where you're going to see a lot more disruption, right? Because today everything is online because of the COVID situation and everything. More importantly, the attention span of an individual is going to come down quite drastically. How are you going to ensure that within that little span, you're able to market a message that is eye-catching and will ensure that your customer is getting converted? Keep looking out for retail. That is where you will see a lot of innovation. And then we are essentially talking about insurance also. Now, millennials, traditionally, none of you guys have thought about savings or probably insurance, but now you will see that, the millennials are going to change and disrupt the entire insurance play itself. We are also talking about healthcare, which is your video consultations and so on, right? So there's a lot of digital success that is there when it is applied in the context, when it actually takes the human context into the consideration completely. So this is just the, the tip of the iceberg that we are seeing. While I close my note, I want to close it on a positive note. Everyone dreams to succeed, right? Only some will dare to wake up and work hard for it. And I would love to see some of your success stories in the near future very, very soon.
Good.
Dr. Shiva, over to you.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes,
yeah,
we can.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks, Ms. Josna. Thanks for sharing this wonderful information on how healthcare is changing. You involved in the project of digitizing or doing a digital transformation for healthcare. Thanks for the inputs. But during your discussion, you rightly mentioned that digital transformation is not only for businesses; it is for government as well. During one of the interviews, Kate Block, the co-CEO of Salesforce, in fact, touching upon this point. And another interesting thing, which would be contradicting for Mr. Viren Mehta, who's with the largest real estate firm. You said, because of these problems, COVID problems, people would be try to work from home, and reverse urbanization is happening. But interestingly, to add a point, I recently listened to an interview by CEO of JLL, Christian Ulbrich. In fact, he sees that as a challenge. That is quite interesting. In fact, we have a diverse views on this. Christian Ulbrich was saying in that interview, they did a survey. Around 80% of the people are not interested working from home. They would love to come to office. And another interesting thing, it's a great insight for me that now offices need to be more spacious in order to maintain the social distance. So this is interesting. With this brief introduction, let us listen to Viren Mehta from JLL, how the digital transformation is happening in the real estate industry. Over to you, Mr. Viren. Your audio is muted. Can you unmute your audio?
Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So thank you, Dr. Shiva, and you covered the absolutely the point when it comes to COVID and real estate. People are talking about that. Yes, the space and everything will fall down, but work from home is increasing. We did a couple of survey here, and we noticed that yes, people would like to work from offices, and there are so many pros and cons. Definitely we'll discuss, but specifically when we are talking about digital imperativeness, so it is not only for the businesses, but now it is quite essential, and we are seeing that every individual is quite active when it comes to digital. So with this, I would like to mention a couple of numbers as well, that digital India is not something new. Since 2015, when Mr. Modi's government have initiated Digital India, we see the drastical change in terms of the movement of the people who started using internet. So as we speak today, 2020, we have almost 574 million active user internet player. Out of that, 504 million people who are 5 years plus using internet services. And to the surprise, there's 65% men and 35% of the women are actively using this internet services. And we all know India is the second largest internet market. Now, when we are talking about businesses, we need to know that which segment and which set of people are more actively using internet. There are 66% age group of 12 to 29 are using internet services. And as Jyotsna lightly mentioned, that the shift from urban to rural has started gradually, and that we have seen it now when it comes to the number internet users. So 2019, first time, the rural, out of this 504 million active 5 years old users, 277 million rural people are using internet, and 227 million from the urban side people are using. And to the more surprise, Jharkhand and Bihar, they're contributing highest 48 to 36%. And if we look at the journey, that almost 12 billion application got downloaded in 2018. This is possible because there are so many other incentives, and benefit is given. If you look at the pricing of a data usage and all, it has gone down. Availability has become quite easier, and hence if we see the usage when it comes to a data, India is as at par with all other developed countries. So our usage is 8.3 GB a month, compared to China if we talk about 5.5 GB or so, and compared to when we talk about the developed countries, they are using around 8 to 8.5 GB a month. So there are many initiatives taken by the government, and hence when we see that the digital platform has moved what it was before and what it is now. So it has moved to an individual life to that extent that in 2014, if we just talk about just 4 or 5 years back, the electricity bill people used to pay, the number of transaction was around 4.57 crore, which has moved from 2014. If I talk about 4.57 in 2018, it's almost 17.38 crore. And this I'm talking about number of transaction. When it comes to value, it is 1500 crore then, and now it is 28,000 crore. So we can imagine that how the shift, the people have actually started using internet and all the services very actively. So as with I was looking at being a finance person also, I was tracking the finance number. Insurance premium people used to pay 2 crore in terms of value, and number of transaction was 2 lakhs in 2014, and 2018 it has numbers from 2 lakhs to jump to 17 lakhs just in 4 lakhs. So you can imagine the jump itself, and the value was 77 crores. So every individual today, if you do not have digital platform, and if you are not servicing or providing digitally, if you are not equipped, I'm telling you, the businesses are actually destructing. During this pandemic period, I was talking to one of my client, and he is providing actually space selling, billboard, and they are into physically, if you talk about the advertisement at the airport or the multiplex or so. He has never moved all this time. He is contributing 22% of pan India revenue, but still he has never thought of moving into digital. Because of this pandemic, he has noticed that his entire business is completely 3 months is zero, and now it is in verge of collapsing because there are so many disruptions has happened. However, he has not noticed that digital online advertisement 2010, if you look at numbers, the newspaper ad they have taken over. 2017, their revenue of online ad has, it is higher than the TV ad also. So there are a couple of people who are not digitally, they have moved. They will have to really face challenges in future. However, there are, on the contrary, when I was talking to a couple of being a real estate guy, when I was talking to a couple of intelligent and smart developers based out in Pune, they are very renowned developers, and they could actually sell, they could completely do the transaction in this lockdown. Number of unit they have sold, and the number is almost 180 apartments. And absolutely there, the Pune was locked down completely. The people used to buy, they have given the entire online the visualization of the building, the payment has made completely, transaction has happened. Although the transaction what he used to make, it has happened only 50%, but still the people who have moved from traditional business methodology to this advanced digitally equipped, I think they are able to success and they are able to surviving today. So as our company also, a couple of during this lockdown also we have a drone technology. There are people who like to visit the site. The methodology of old going physically identifying the property, selecting, negotiating, everything is gone. physically, you can actually, drone actually have moved. You can see that this is the property, this is the city, and this is the place, and we'll be able to do the transaction. So what I would like to make here is that if you are not digitally equipped, and if you are not changing with the time, I think then you are destroying your business your own way across all the industries. So with this note, we will also cover next that how property technology has actually moved to the next level. Over to you, Dr. Shiva.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Biran. Now I would like to request Mr. Anand, who is involved in the initiating the digital in power sector. He is one of the early companies that moved into digital. We would like to listen from you about your experiences, Mr. Anand. Over to you, Mr. Anand.
Good afternoon, Dr. Shiva. Good afternoon, students. Viren, I just got a WhatsApp message from my wife in the afternoon. That's a joke is there. Husband, I am going to office today after lockdown. Do you want anything? The wife says, no, that's enough. So
People want office to be started.
So the space requirement of space will always remain there, and I hope that JLL will do good business. Don't know cause of worry. So welcome, students. Welcome to the new world of professionals. It's a new journey you are going to start. It's going to change your way of thinking. It's going to change the way you are doing things, you are living, both in personal life and professional life. So be ready for a change in your life. And as I keep telling to my people, change is the only constant in life. So if you embrace the change, you will keep on climbing, be it digital, be it not digital. So nothing to do with that. And I'm a power sector person. So my knowledge is limited to that. I have not moved much beyond that, but I am very well adapted with the government dealings. I'm there with the Ministry of Power for almost 2 decades. So, but certainly, I would like to, I have prepared a presentation. If Dr. Shiva can give me a control, then I can share a presentation how the power sector industry is moving towards the digitalization. Dr. Shiva, if you can provide me the control.
Yeah, sure. Mr. Karthik, just a minute, sir.
Unshare, sir. Automatically, sir can able to share it.
Okay, okay.
You need to click the button right next to the mute button.
Yeah, I've done that.
Yeah.
Well, Professor, after Mr. Anand is done, I would like to play a 5-minute video which I want to set the context on the imperatives of business that we are speaking about. I will wait for it. It's been absolutely exciting so far.
Sure.
Can you see my presentation? No.
No,
Probably
sir,
no, na?
We are seeing your mail inbox.
Okay. So what should I do? Let me see if I can. So I'm starting.
Yeah,
for
please,
digital
sir.
imperative for businesses. I think Dr. Shiva, you have got something from my side. Can you share?
Yeah, I'm doing it.
It's
I'm
little
doing
slow.
it right
It is
away,
going.
sir. Yeah.
Okay.
You can start, sir. I'm doing it right away.
These are the challenges of digital online platform.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Now it is on. Can you see the PPT?
And just
Yes.
not, it has not come.
Yeah, I can
Okay.
see that actually.
Yeah, we can see
I
this.
can see that.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
a
we can
reference.
see that. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Anand, you can go ahead.
Okay. So I'm not able to see. I think probably no, I can see. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm specifically taking care of the digital imperatives for the businesses from the utilities. So next slide, Dr. Shiva. You can
Yeah.
go on. So
Yes, sir. Can you
I'm
see?
just
Yeah.
I can see, sir. So I'm just in this slide. I'm taking trying to tell what is the power sector. The value chain of the power sector is divided into generation, transmission, and distribution. So if you see the generation, we have got various types of generation: thermal, renewable, hydro, nuclear, wind. Uh, Wind is always anyway part of the renewable. Some microgrids are also there, biogas and all. Then transmission is there. Transmission, we have got 5 grids in India, but all these grids are now interconnected. So we as a nation, one nation and one grid is there. So in this present scenario, there is very less chance of a blackout that had happened in 2012 because all the grids are now connected. So digitalization has happened over there. So if there is a blackout in north part of the India, some other part of the India can share the load and transfer the powers to the other region. So that is there. Then the distribution sector is there. This is the sector which is connecting you, coming to you and to my house and your house and the college everywhere. So this sector, distribution sector, is in the real trouble. And why it is in real trouble, and that is what we are going to discuss. If you see that the total outstanding payment to the generators and the creditors is around 4 lakh crores in the Indian INR, we call it. So moving on to the next slide, slide number 4.
Yeah. Distribution sector.
Yeah, slide number 4, Dr. Shiva.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's it. So here we are trying to understand what is the distribution sector. I would try to read it out. Power distribution, how they operate, distribution companies operate. They collect payments from the consumers against the energy that is supplied to provide necessary cash to their generation and transmission companies from where they have bought this electricity. Since there is a perennial cash shortage, so discoms are not able to make timely payments for their energy purchases from both discoms and transmission companies. This gap, this shortfall leads to debt. The debt leads to interest on that borrowing. Subsidies, government sometimes provides subsidies for agriculture, for government offices, then for lower strata of the society. Discoms try to reduce their expenditures, but all these things don't lead to anywhere. This also undermines the ability of discom to provide the power supply 24/7 as it's a part of the Electricity Act 2003. Now you may be reading these days that there is an Electricity Act 2020 is there. 5th of June was the last day where general public of India could have provided the comments to that. So we may see a presentation of Electricity Bill 2020 in the monsoon session, and there will be it will be passed, and now we may be having a very far-reaching consequences as far as the electricity distribution is coming to our home. Presently, you may not be able to read your bill. Dr. Shiva may not be able to read his electricity bill. He could be seeing only the final amount that he needs to pay. But now that bill is going to be simplified, and now he will be able to understand how much he has consumed and how much he has to pay. Presently, nobody in India is able to read his bill, including myself. So that's the problem. So distribution companies, what they try to do, they try to buy efficient power from cost efficient power, ensure supply reliability, accurate metering, billing, collect payment from consumer, and thereby enable timely payments to the generators. So move to the next slide, slide number 5, Dr. Shiva.
Yes, sir, I'm doing.
technical health of the utilities. From here onwards, I will try to build up the story. So technical health, just previous slide, Dr. Shiva.
Yes, yes. Yeah, technical health. Is that visible, sir?
Yeah. So why we have just talked about the status of the present status of the DISCOMs. So what is they are doing today? What they are doing? So technical health. I am talking about the present status of their technical system. There is selective deployment of SCADA. There is very rudimentary IT infra. Means IT infra is limited to playing a game on the computer or maybe writing few mails here and there. There is no IT infra deployed in the utilities. So very rudimentary. Manual meter billing. Presently, you must be seeing that people coming and reading your meter. Linear and radial power distribution. Presently, power is supplied in a linear line. So if there is a breakdown in between, the other sectors go out of the power sector distribution. So there is fault at one place has happened, but others sectors have gone without light, and or maybe maximum radial, but there's no radial and mesh combination power distribution is there because there is no automation. Standalone transformers are there. You must be seeing that we keep on hearing that transformer has burst because there is no health measurement. There is only one measurement when it dies, and there is no communication feature with the transformer. There is no command and control center for entire distribution so that they can see from one place. No asset management, no field force automation. They still go the same way they were going 50 years back. There is no GIS mapping, that no latitude and longitude of the asset that is deployed in your area. No, all field maintenance, manual maintenance, no predictive analysis, breakdown information. Whenever there is a light goes off, every consumer gives a call to the substation that my light is not coming, please look into it. So they will ask your address and then come looking for that address and try to find where the fault is. And there is paper and file mode of official communication. They still go through the same way. So man operated substations and no energy audited accounting. There is no calculation how much has been bought and how much has been sold and where there is a pilferage. So that is the technical health of the utility. So the next slide, Dr. Shiva, is about the financial health of the utility.
Yes,
so,
sir.
So this has led to the present state of financial health of the utility. So if you see that there's a high AT&C losses from 8% to 40%, all of you must be reading in the newspaper that this is aggregated technical and commercial losses. Discoms are under huge debt and resort to unscheduled load shedding. So presently they cut the supply just because they can't afford to pay to their generator. But this is going to stop from after this electricity bill 2020 will come into play, because it is mandatory on the discoms to provide you the electricity, or if they don't provide, they have to pay penalty to at least to the commercial consumers, means in industries or shopping malls or schools and colleges. They have to pay penalty if they are not able to supply the electricity because of shortage of payment. So this is going to change. We will be having a more hours of supply coming to our home and offices. There is a gap between the average cost of supply and average rate of revenue. It is on the minus side. It has to be minimum zero so that they can come back on the no profit and loss. Positive is always better. So advanced metering is very less, just 5%, less than 5%. Once in a month billing is happening. No transformer monitoring is happening. High SAFI and SADI, these are the system assurance parameters are there. And level of digitization, only bill payment and lodging of complaints. That's all you must be seeing, that only once you go and make a payment, they give a receipt, computerized receipt, or some utilities they have started accepting the digital payment also over the last 2 years, 2.5 years after the demonetization. So this is all about the financial health. On the right side, we can see the percentage loss that they are incurring. So this, whatever percentage you are seeing, that this percent of AT&C loss is directly getting converted into the money. So if they are earning 100 rupees as a revenue, they end up getting only 85 rupees if there is a 15% AT&C loss. Imagine if you do this 15%, in 5 to 6 year time, your entire net worth is gone. So that's what is happening with the utilities, and government is just trying to pump the money to keep them afloat. So this is now, so what to do? If we go to the slide number 7, Dr. Shiva.
Yes. Yeah, it's on.
So this slide 7, Dr. Shiva, just before that.
Yes.
6 number.
This one, sir, energy industry transformation.
Yeah. So we have seen that the status, overall holistic status, then the present status, financial and technical. So what they should do now? So the time has come for energy industry transformation. So how the transformation can happen? It can happen through decarbonization, decentralization, and digitalization. That's the topic of the today day. So how decarbonization, we know that microgrids and renewables are being talked about. Decentralization is radial power supply, mesh power supply to your homes, more segregated power supply, rural separate. You must have heard about the rural feeder segregation and distribution, city urban segregation. So that is decentralization. And digitalization, we are going to talk over here in the next slide, slide number 7.
Yes, sir.
Next slide, Dr.
Yes, sir.
If we see this slide, it's about the challenges and expectations. Once you decide on a digital transformation, any transformation you look for, and especially when in this case you are going for a digital transformation, you will be having some challenges and expectation coming together to you. So what are the challenges? Challenges are coming from the regulator. It's a power distribution is a regulated business, so it is coming from the regulator. It is coming from the resources, because we have a very limited natural resources. Power generation is always a problem. Technology, plethora of technology coming in. Customers, demanding customers are challenge. Expectations that we should perform in an optimized way, be profitable. Changing, beat the customers, beat the competition where the distribution choice of power is still not available, but the new electricity bill will provide you the choice of power. So these are the expectation coming in. So if we move to next slide,
Sir,
number.
Mr. Anand, it's going interesting. Sorry to cut it short. We have a lot of other questions. Can you hear me, sir?
I can hear you, sir.
Yeah, little later we can take up. I'll come back to you. In the meantime, I would like to start the discussion because we are running short of time. Once I come back to you, we will discuss further. Kindly excuse me for cutting short.
Dr. Shiva, just the next slide and it finishes. Just slide number 8.
Sure, sir.
Just one slide. I think this will.
This one, sir. Yeah.
Slide number 8. But that's it.
Right.
Yeah. So how this digital transformation will happen? So these are the solutions through which we can provide the digital transformation to in the utilities. This is happening now in India. Presently, we have manual street light, but over a period of time, there will be remotely monitored and centrally controlled. Distribution automation will be coming in, where all the transformers and other equipment that you see on the road, on the substation, will be there on the command and control center, all communicated. They must be hearing rooftop generation. So this is coming under distributed energy management. GIS means asset management, lat and long of all the assets that are there. Your home, my home, and street light poles get mapped on the GIS mapping. So other things are there for advanced IT infra for the utilities. Digital offices is very much required for the utilities. And SCADA is there, maybe supervisory control and data automation. So you may be knowing about this. So these are the different digital, these are the solutions which will make the utilities for the shift to the digital transformation. So that's all from my side, Dr. Shiva.
Thank you, Mr. Anand. Yeah. In fact, I was mentioning about the interview of Keith Block, co-CEO of Salesforce, a few minutes back. Like digital transformation is not only for businesses, it is for government also. In the same interview, he was describing about what exactly is digital transformation. He mentions three things. One is technology, second one is business model, and third one is cultural change. So this leads to digital transformation of any business. To start with, I would like to understand from the panelists how the technology is leading to the digital transformation. What's happening in the technology front? I think Mr. Anand and Ms. Josna can give us better insights in this. I request first Mr. Sairam to address this.
Well, thank you very much. I thought I will give my opening notes really brief and crisp so that I could listen from all the panelists. So it's been a very informative thing. My colleagues touched upon a lot. Let me make a statement, a profound statement, I presume. They say AI is the new electricity. Okay, Mr. Andrew Ng, the Four-Mount professor, ex-chief scientist at Google Brain, says AI is the new electricity. They say data is the new oil.
New oil, yeah.
I want to say digital is the new air.
Oh my God.
Okay? It's omnipresent, right? So, I mean, we all know as human beings how important air is now, air quality index is now. So for businesses to be successful, I call it the digital quality index, the three parameters that actually influence that. The first is not technology. The first is cultural change. The strategic imperative of digital business. So let me make some statistics now, okay? A research says that the average tenure of the global companies in Standard & Poor's index is going to fall down from what it was 61 years. In 1958, corporations listed in S&P 500 stayed for 61 years. By 2027, 3/4 of today's Standard & Poor's index is going to get displaced. The reason is they're getting digitally swept away. The imperative of the business is, do I have an alternative business model that can influence my top line and bottom line both at the same time? And that's what digital does, which means that the imperative of the business is you got to be strategically thinking digital transformation as a means to achieve your business objectives, thus taking along with you the people who are existing with you, which means that it becomes absolutely imperative for to be reskilled. Number one, it's also becoming an inverse pyramid models where companies' organizational structures get transformatively changed. The third comes the technology, right? We have numerous examples of technology, but I want to point two cases of positive impact the digital has created. We are living in the age where India's Aadhaar stack, okay, is the biggest payment fintech ecosystem ever implemented in the world, with the fintech ecosystem of payment inclusion that has broken the barriers from the super rich to the poor. And there is no bigger example than that, where digital inclusion proved that you don't need to have a PhD from Harvard to use it as a medium to gain efficiency. We're also living in the age where without Arogya Setu, you cannot cross a square kilometer from the radius that you live in. These are the two biggest impacts the digital has brought in, which completely breaks the barriers of index. Whether it is businesses, whether it is human beings, the medium is actually business. Digital is the business, right? That's why I'm calling it digital is the air. The imperative here is the underlying infrastructure, the compute infrastructure. See, I don't want to go into cloud and AI and technologies which Jyotsna touched about, but all of them has become so ubiquitous today that everyone can think through what is the model that I can actually bring in to generate direct and indirect revenue to the business that I'm running in. So right from boardrooms to academia, it's become an imperative that digital becomes strategically extremely important, operationally very relevant, and tactically it's going to be there with you 24/7. How do you leverage whether a smartphone, whether a conversational AI bot, or they say voice is the new interface? I can talk to an enterprise application today just like I talked to you today and ask them to bring up a query that a Salesforce system can answer to me, right? And 4 points that I want to touch and stop here, right? Digital can influence agriculture. Digital can influence biodiversity. Digital can influence climate change. Digital can influence how we're going to consume water. I think for me, that's more over archiving than what digital can do for business. So digital is for planet. Hence, digital becomes the next biggest, not next big, digital is the imperative for anyone to survive in the foreseeable future. Business is just a subset of it. And as a student ecosystem, because today we are addressing students, it becomes very important for them to understand that digital is not a subject that they need to learn. Digital is the way of life that they need to master. Okay. So an age group from 80 to 80, the two diverse age groups. My son today doesn't do a Google text search. He does voice search. My father uses Jeevan Praman portal to proudly present his living status to claim his pension, which is a reflection of technology, which is also a reflection of the social index that has done to a human being. After working 40 years in public service, he otherwise had to travel 600 kilometers to stand in the queue to prove that he is a pensioner and he need to take a pension, which is no more the case. That is for me digital inclusion in two diverse things, right? The 80-year-old is the future. The 80-year-old is the reflection of what digital has done to better lives. So let me kind of stop here, and that's what for me digital is the new imperative. Digital is the air.
Fantastic. Thanks, thanks, Sarah. I have a question to Josna because she was involved in the healthcare, especially implementing digital transformation in the healthcare. Any business for that matter, rather than healthcare, if they want to go for a digital transformation, what should be the starting point? Because Amazon continues to amaze us. They started as a retail store. Now they are into Amazon Web Services. I don't know what is in pipeline tomorrow. So if a business thinks of going for a digital transformation, what should be the starting point? Your voice is muted.
Sorry. Yeah. Okay. So very good question. So what I was trying to talk about here, right? There are 4 different principles, according to me, if we are actually going to get into digital transformation. The first part of it is disrupt your own business before somebody else disrupts it. It is a top-down approach. It has to be identified that digital is mandatory or core for any organization. And it should not be that, you're doing digital because your competitor is doing it or somebody else is doing it. It is important for us to understand why we are kind of embracing digital, and also understand how does digital disrupt our business. And the more important thing is before somebody else disrupts it. Imagine, you take the examples of the Xerox and all of that, right? We have done this all to the death. So the second part of it is, how do you digitize your core business itself? So, we can't, like, if you look at it about like 5-6 years back, we used to embark on this data programs, right? Which used to take some 3 years, 4 years. And by the time that project was completed, that's it. There was something else new, and then you keep on embarking it. The only people who are actually, succeeding in all of this were the IT service providers who used to get the organizations into a 4-5 year contract on the data warehouse projects, for example. So it is important that we identify what is a core business, and we also need to identify what we should own and what we should integrate. If you look at the fintech organization, the banks and the entire financial services value chain has been disrupted to such an extent that people are looking at quick time to market. They're not trying to own this particular one. For example, the Ubers and the Airbnbs where we talk, they don't own a single asset kind of a thing. So how do you identify what is it that you need to own and what is it that you would integrate? For us, making money end of the day is core to your business, and how do you make that particular money is what matters. And the next thing is, we did about air, we talked about oil, and we talked about electricity and everything. How do you create value from this particular data itself? How are you able to cross-sell and upsell some of your opportunities? How are you So for example, there's an organization that I worked with, right? So they have different business units in between. One business unit doesn't know that a customer A is a customer for both of their particular businesses. This used to be a traditional problem even for ICICI guys and everyone else in the few years back, right? Today, my wealth manager knows where my portfolio is, what are my savings, where have I invested in fixed deposits and all of that. So how do you create that value? How do you use your relationship managers or your advisory models to get the pull through revenue or the downstream revenue that we are talking about, right? And more importantly, I think it is very, very important for us to stay in the ecosystem. What I mean by that is we need to see how do we collaborate. There's a lot of conversations that were happening on the chat sometime back on the blockchain and everything, right? In my opinion, the blockchain is going to fail unless there are consortiums that are actually coming up with. Why is a blockchain not getting adopted in any other area other than, let's say, a financial sector itself? That is because we don't have a common consortium where people will say, okay, this is the trusted body with which we want to go ahead with. So how do you play? How do you become one of the influencers in this particular ecosystem also matters. Last but not the least is going to be the culture part of it. Unless and until your organization is geared up from a culture perspective, saying that let's go ahead and conquer the world there. As an organization, it is not just the top management that goes. It is the entire organization, and we need to have an innovative culture that is built into the organization itself.
Thank you. Thanks, Ms. Josna. Wonderful insights. In fact, you rightly touched upon the relevance of leadership and culture in digital transformation. I would like to listen from Viren how the support of leadership and the culture is important in transforming an organization.
Okay. So, audible now?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, support from leader, basically, we get a feedback from the bottom. So, it is not always work that, a bottom down approach, but yes, the organization like us, we always take input from the bottom and, come out with the solution. Because the people who are there on the offices and the ground, they are the one who keep on meeting the client very frequently. And this is the world, when we're talking about, customer and digitization, and also we'll have to give them a different experience and different feel, and that's what the client would always like to look for. So the role of a leadership, basically, obviously one has to develop the culture within the system. It's not that digital platform you create just for the sake of creating the platform, but yes, every employee should be aware about that, how it has to be implemented and can be used to the fulfillment of the client, and then probably look after for the business point of view that how it will generate revenue to the system. So company like us, you have also seen the interview of our CEO and all, is very particular that yes, we would like to spend a lot when it comes to digital. We spend almost 500 to 700 million dollar every month on a technology. We first we develop ourselves. Second, we also partner with the people. Like, we have a fund of 100 million or so, and we always invest in startup, and we invest $1 million in each company. And now to invest $1 million or 100 million altogether, so that means we are talking about 100 different startups. And now to identify this, we are actually evaluating almost 1,000 company plus. So you can imagine that how much idea and information we get from this. Now, secondly, we manage 46 billion square feet of globally. Now that means if one person required, the thumb rule that he needs 100 square feet. So almost 46 million. When it comes to a commercial, we touch the life, and our team strength is almost 94,000 employees. So you can imagine that kind of information we gather from all this. That's the humongous, and all this information would actually what likely we said is the data is actually a real oil now. So this is the information what we gather from all these people, and then we come out with the solution which is actually useful for the client.
Interesting, Viren. Just one point. Sometimes what happens when bigger companies they see a resistance for digital transformation, what they do, as you rightly said, they create a startup infrastructure and try to jump into that so that something happens over there and then bring back to the main business. But the interesting research shows that what happens is that the speedboat takes off quickly, but the problem is the ship remains same. The ship remains stagnant in the same place. Rather than digital, for the digital transformation, when you create a startup infrastructure, what happens is that business takes up, the main business stuck to the same point. How do you see that?
So we'll have to be innovative every time. You do not have to forget your core businesses. The moment when you leave your core business, then probably that's where the strength is. Today, if you look at, there are a couple of, the industries and the businesses who are doing very well. But the moment when you step into another business which you do not understand, and you try to expose and leverage your more time and money there, and you will always get to have the failure, and hence probably we see the larger corporate are failing into this. So obviously, yes, digital platform through probably you should utilize, put your money, energy, time where you understand your core business, and that's where you need to expand on. The moment when you stop and you try something which you do not understand, that will hit you hard.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Let me just add
Saira.
some insights here, right? So that's
Yeah.
what I was trying to tell at the beginning, right? The digital is not an afterthought. It has to be an adjacency to what you do in your primary business. Okay. If I'm a fintech institution, assume that if I look at QR code based authentication system to enable a quicker onboarding of account creation, I should be seeing that as an alternative, faster mechanism to onboard 100 other accounts, which would have probably taken 3 days. So if I'm a bank, I should be looking at the technology as an augmented piece to what my existing technology is doing that, which means that I would be disrupting, I would be cannibalizing a set of my existing employees, a set of my existing functions. But the leadership has to have the vision to conjoin the impact of the acceleration that brings in, not just the agility just because it's being done by a startup. Because if you're onboarding 100 new accounts faster a day, which means the same person would have been manually filling that form, but has 25 years of significant credit risk experience, could be better used for doing something else for the same account holder, right? So digital should never be an afterthought. Digital should be tight binded, and it should be so intriguingly done that it should become a foolproof effort, and hence it should never be done in silos. That's when it has to be top down, and there is also an organizational process called the reverse mentoring. So today, forward-looking organizations, the boards, have reverse mentors in terms of diverse age groups of people from their employee base and extended ecosystem who come in with use cases that are actually experiencing, which allows existing leaders to get uncomfortable and then sort of visualize what could be the user experience if I change this whole thing. So that's when digital truly becomes successful. It so happened now today you have verbs, right? You say, did you Google it? Have you Paytm'd it? Did you Swiggy that? Why have they been so disruptive? That's because they have broken the barriers of age groups. That's very important, and it's never hierarchical. It's absolutely flat. So that's why culture is very important.
Dr. Shiva, this is Saurabh here. Just apologies for the interruption. There seem to be some questions in the chat box for the benefit of the students. I'll read out one of the questions, which is, I think, a very important side of the entire discussion that we have. Is what about the data privacy? We are talking about digitization and bringing people on board, but as a customer, I always have this worry that my data is being used, and where this data is used and in what manner. So if some of the panelists can address that issue of data privacy.
I would like to go on that one, right? So data privacy, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Data privacy is as old as human existence, right? So privacy will always be the concern when any modern technology that's going to be hyper-personalized is coming your way. So there has to be a thin line between what you call it as a mass digital initiative as against a specific goal-oriented digital initiative. So the two dimensions, the thin line between being B2B and B2C. So when I'm looking at as a corporate, that's why large companies today have chief ethics officers, chief diversity officers, and chief compliance officers. So it's hyper important for me to be very, see, today latest Google and Apple as recent as few weeks ago have not exposed their location-based contact tracing APIs for non-government initiatives. Private organizations cannot go and leverage those APIs just because it has every possibility to sort of invade your privacy. So in that sense, it depends on the type of the initiative that you are seeing it. But from a user standpoint, it also makes a lot of responsibility on the user to choose what he wants to subscribe and what he doesn't want to. Europe became a big problem when COVID tracing was initiated. The compliance and local security regulations there prevented government from doing effective contact tracing. What do you trade off? Human life or a business? That's also something that's going to be a very important aspect that you need to see. But on a generic basis, yes, digital applications will invade your privacy because digital business models are built around the data sets that users would expose. So it is always to be a trade-off depending on what type of application you are subscribing to. And there is to be a lot of education for this. It can be a courseware in academics. By educating people, it should not just be going and blind say I agree and I submit for all the terms and conditions that an application would put forth. There has to be judiciousness to that. So it's a wider conundrum, but that's my take on that.
Yeah, cyber security is supposed to be ensured by technology as well as laws. That is a concern, I think. Do we have, in India, many of the concerns that participants are sharing is, do we have laws that protects us from the breach of privacy? That is the concern many of the participants are expressing. One is cybersecurity from the technology. Technology is so advancing, same as a lot of research going on cybersecurity, making sure that systems are foolproof. At the same time, what is the protection by law? That is what many of them having a concern. Whether in India, do we have enough laws that protects the privacy of the individual? As of now, I don't think we have, the laws. Yeah.
Correct.
Go ahead, Jasna. Go ahead. I will comment later. Please go ahead. Yeah.
No, this entire conversation also reminds me about a new role that is coming up, right? This has got nothing to do with the data security or privacy. The new role that is coming up is a chief risk officer now, especially after the COVID-19, right? You will start seeing like risk officer is also going to be given equal importance to a chief digital officer, because the risk of implementing it and the risk of not implementing is going to become the responsibility of this risk officer, right? So that's again slightly digressing from the topic, but I thought that's an interesting point and I wanted to chat in.
Yeah, CISO is there. Chief Information Security Officer is also come.
Sorry, Sai.
So, yeah. Recently, Dr. Shiva.
Yeah, please go ahead, sir. Anand, sir.
So I just recently underwent a cybersecurity training. Only yesterday it has completed. The first thing they told that privacy itself is a big myth. So whatever has been created, it is bound to be hacked. It is bound. Every software that has been made world over. And I attended a session from the founder of Waterfall Security Solutions. People like Sairam would be knowing him much better. So even he said, I am raising my hand across the globe. I teach and I mentor everybody. It's just a myth that it is there. As long it is safe, it is safe. But today it is safe, and within 5 seconds it can be hacked. Right. So and he gave a link to me that you can just check on where whether it has been your mail has been hacked. So I clicked on the link. I saw that my official email account has been tracked 11 times by different people, and I never knew it. Okay. One of them has gone from Zomato site. Oh my God. It is showing the track also. So, and my company says that we are a very security conscious organization, and they have even blocked the camera of my laptop. So, what to say about this technology? So, that's it from my side.
Yeah, Mr. Sairam, your views on this, please.
Yes, I think I think Josna extended to what I said, right? I said about chief ethics officer, chief compliance, and she said about chief risk officers. I have a positive way to put up the security privacy aspect. While media and responsible media always discloses fraudulent transactions and some of these exciting stuff, hundreds of transactions, millions of transactions that could have been fraudulent are also protected by technology before even they hit. Okay, what comes out is probably one miss, which is always the case. So while that is happening today, I know for sure large corporations and small startups have so much of security built in that what could have actually got exposed is also getting prevented. So that's the way forward. Digital is going to be there, right? We got to live with it, and we need to figure out ways. Also, it's also personal responsibility on what you disclose and what you not disclose. Today, companies are giving you the choice, right? They're not forcefully saying that, government of India, Arogya said, that's what I'm saying. The trade-off has become so huge. It's a human life or the data. Sometimes you need to make that. But that said, because it's an academic discussion that we are having, I probably have a feeling that this can become a course where students are also kind of taught about the ethical concepts of data privacy, not just from a technology standpoint, but as a human being, as a social individual that you're in the society, what amount of information that you choose to share and you also choose to consume. While we get paranoid about sharing our stuff, we also get excited to see someone else's information, right? So that's also wrong. So it's also got to do with fundamental human behavior. So that part can never be digitized. It is about how you coach and what you sensitize at the college level, at the education level, because these are the ones who's going to come out into the society. So in my viewpoint, the privacy and security has also to be very responsible, and it just cannot be forced, or technology cannot be the compliant factor that, because technology is something human beings will use it. But technology is also invented by human beings. So we have the responsibility to guard that.
Yeah. So one interesting question before concluding. What's going to be the impact for the future employment scenario? So what skills that the future managers should develop? This is a question open to all the panelists. I would like to listen to each one of you.
We can go in the reverse. We can go in the reverse clockwise. I will do it at the last.
Okay, I will start with Mr. Anand then.
So I would say I keep on telling the young boys that keep 70% technical yourself and 30% commercial or non-technical, whatever you call it. Even if as a manager, as an MBA graduate, keep 70% technical in wherever you are, whatever field that you are working, be it digital, be it finance, be it health. Keep yourself technically fully competent, 70% minimum, and you will succeed anywhere you are. And don't compare yourself with anybody, and embrace the change. Try to unlearn what you have learned. Right. That's all from my side to the 2 cents to the young boys and girls over here.
Yeah. Mr. Viren?
For me, honestly, when I hire, okay, I always look at the candidate with the right attitude. What I always believe is that a knowledge, and if something which is lacking can be, knowledge can be given by the training, or, by the classroom, or, on-job training when he works with any of the employee together. But until and unless a candidate, if he's not with the right attitude, I have never looked at, honestly, when I hire, I never looked at the mark sheet. I have never asked anybody that how much, he has scored in any of his exams. I always would like to understand that what is his, mindset and attitude. So for that, obviously, as an employer, also have to play a big role, because, he has to tell them that clear job description. So the moment when he or she understands about the role, and then probably, we need to also tell them a real challenges being faced when you actually get into the role. Because when if somebody gets into account or a finance or a sales or an administration, so and every organization works in a different way. So if the moment when if you explain it, and I would expect the candidate to be very candid to say no, even if he's not finding him that if there is a sales guy, and if he says that no, if city like Ahmedabad, if he has to go out and meet a client in the 45-degree temperature, and if he doesn't perform, then definitely his career is getting hit into. So the moment when we explain the job role and he is accepting that yes, he's able to do it, So then probably, right attitude, what I would like to convey is that rest everything over a period of time can be built, and a candidate can learn. So my only request to the candidate is that have always a right attitude, always have a business mind. Don't look as a job as an opportunity. Also parallelly, first you need to think that why you can't become an entrepreneur. So always an explore and possibility that even if it is small things you would like to start today, please give them at least 1,000 days, and probably I'm sure you will definitely get the success if you have a right attitude. So that's from my side.
Thank you, Mr. Viran. Ms. Josna, can you tell what are the digital skills that the future manager should focus on during the 2 years? Is someone entering an MBA program or PhD program? What is the skills that they have to develop that will help them in a career, like be it a finance, be it marketing, be it HR, be it operations? Everywhere the digital transformation is happening, what is the digital skills that one has to develop over the 2-year period of time?
I would say only two things, right? The first one is the customer obsession, whoever is your customer. If it is an internal organization like a HR, then your employee is your customer. So you need to have a customer obsession, irrespective of anything. Just keep thinking about your customer, and all your problem statements would actually fall in line. The second one is uncomplicating it. So that Ranbir Kapoor advertisement is there, right? Uncomplicated, silly.
Correct.
Exactly like that. Think constantly about how can you uncomplicate it? How can you make it as silly as possible that anybody can actually use it? If we follow these two through mantras, there are a lot of opportunities, right? Just to talk about some of the opportunities you have in digital spaces, digital transformation leader that we are talking about, change champion, business expert, UI, UX, or the customer experience professional that we are talking about. Do you know there are also opportunities like critical hacker, who is actually going to hack into your system and give you a critical feedback on how do you go about fixing it? Financial analyst. Several opportunities are there. I mean, it just innumerous, right? And openings keep on coming. And sometimes it is always about, as Viren said, about the person with the right attitude. So be customer obsessed and uncomplicated always. That should be the only two mantras that anybody should be following to get into digital.
Thanks, Ms. Josna. Over to Sairam.
So I will kind of take a slightly one level above view, right? What I call this is a reinvention era, right? So Jyotsna actually gave the specific titles. Viren spoke about attitude, and Anand sir spoke about being technical. Now, for me, if you got to be living in the reinvention era, there are certain traits, human traits, that I perceive as very important. One, you got to be a specialist, okay? The second thing is you got to be an explorer, which means you need to have a personal odyssey. While a specialist, you do a labor of love. For an explorer, you would be a personal odyssey. The third is to be an utopian, a sustainable utopia, an excitement factor that's very important. The fourth thing is to be a solver, intelligent disobedience. That's very important. The ability to question the status quo comes to solvers. And the fifth thing is makers, because we are living in the age of phygital, right? I call it the physical pixels. The last thing is perceivers. Perceivers can do enriched reality. So to be in digital, these skills are very, very important, so that the basic human cognitive skill set, that's why it's called cognitive computing. It comes back to what the nature has given to you. That's what I started at the beginning. You need to be able to perceive and explore something. Just to give a role that, I'll give a very simple role. Companies like Facebooks and Googles and many, many companies hire a role called community managers. Community managers is a fundamental role description, is nothing but being a human being. You should be able to understand 10 different people that you will interact day in and day out with digital as a medium, and sort of manage the stakeholders and make them do something consensus. It's nothing but being human. So in digital, while the technology allows you to be doing at scale, the ability to stay human is absolutely important. Hence, you need to be a perceiver. You need to visualize much larger things, and that can be done across the age factors. So for me, those are the traits and the roles that Jyotsna spoke about. And I said 133 million new jobs that World Economic Forum is talking about. It's exciting times for everyone ahead. Digital is the air.
Okay. Thank you, Sairam. I would like to summarize what has happened during this last 1.5 hours. Though we had, what I understand is, though we had discussed about digital transformation, how businesses are changing, but the key takeaways for me is like what Sairam has recently said. you have to remain what you are, human being, right? And as a business, like how as an individual you have to remain as a human being in a digital environment, the businesses continues to stay focused on how to create value, how to capture value, and how to communicate value. I think that is the message that our future managers are taking from here. I think with this, I would like to conclude the session. Thanks
Dr.
to all
Shiva,
the participants. Yeah.
I have a last one thing to give a note to the team. As we are
please.
talking about Hyderabad, Hyderabad has been assessed as a world most dynamic city from 130 cities across the globe. We JLL published a City Momentum Index. From that, in 2020, this year, Hyderabad has been assessed as the world most dynamic city. So this is, I thought of people who are keen to understand and know about the city. The report I can share with them. My email ID and all you can is there with you. There are a couple of socio-economic and real estate factor being considered while publishing this. One is the air connectivity, corporate headquarters, foreign direct investment, and number of transaction in real estate and investment and transparency. What are the parameters? So this is something great I thought of sharing with everyone at Hyderabad among the globe. I'm talking about out of 130 cities.
City, understand.
So
please share us
thank
the
you
report.
all.
We will come.
Sure.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank
you very much.
Thank you, all the panelists and all the audience, those who have joined this program. It was a wonderful session having you all here. Over to Mr. Prakash.
Thank you, Dr. Shiva.
Yeah, so of course, I think it was a wonderful session. We had a very enriching discussion. So we had diverse views. We already knew that that we'll have diverse views because we had panelists from diverse industries, diverse sectors. So while Mr. Sairam spoke about 100 million jobs being created in digital, Josna spoke about digital, how is it going in villages and remote areas of our country, and Mr. Viren spoke about things like a drone helping you buy a property, and of course Anand touched about the digital transformation in the power sector. So of course we had a diverse views, and I am sure there were a lot of takeaways for the today's audience, which is our students, and I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to all the 4 panelists of the day. Thank you all for being here and devoting your time and time for our students. I thank the moderator of the session for an excellent session, Dr. Shiva. I once again thank the faculty members who attended today's session, faculty members of IMT Hyderabad and the admissions and the placements team of IMT Hyderabad for organizing this. Last but not least, again, I would like to thank all the students who are participants who attended the session, and I hope it was a very enriching and informative session for all the students. So thank you all, and with that we conclude today's session, today's knowledge session. And I'm sure that this thing, Mr. Sairam, you want to quickly say something, and Dr. Shiva,
On behalf of the panel, I take the liberty to thank Dr. Shiva for being a wonderful moderator, some rich insights that he shared as anecdotes while the conversations were going. And thanks to you, Dr. Prakash, and all the student ecosystem and IMT for inviting us. We learned as much as what we shared. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Pleasure is all ours, sir. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shiva. Thank you, Prakash.
Thank you all.